Hello folks, it's Kendo here. If you're new around here, welcome. If you're not, am I ashy? Yes I am. If you're new around here, welcome. If you're not new around here, what is up, home skillet biscuit? And happy Saturday. We are here once again for this beautiful thing that I love to do on my channel called Bad Movies in a Beat, the series on my channel where I talk about bad movies while putting my makeup on. Just as a heads up, if you don't know what's going on, I am going to be using some of my products from my bundle with ColourPop that was announced in our last video on Tuesday. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you can check that up above. I'll have that link to that video. Not going to be using all the products today, but some of them will be in this, and if you want to check out the bundle itself, it'll be linked down below. Be sure to use code Kenny for some money is off. You're welcome, sis. And thank you also to everyone who's already purchased it. Last week, we talked about the Velocipaster. Velocipaster? A movie about a priest that has the ability to turn into a velociraptor. Actually, it's a T-Rex, because that's the thing that makes it stupid, is that they were inaccurate. But if you would like to check out that video or any of the other videos in this here series, feel free to check it out, again, up above or in the Bad Movies in a Beat playlist. Today we are talking about Tyler Perry, a Tyler Perry film. Oh yes. I feel like I say that every week. I should have talked about this already. I should have talked about something from Tyler Perry, but I'm happy I baited my time and waited until this gem came along. Tyler Perry. A figure of both adulation and also a proverbial thorn in the side of a collective black consciousness. I come before you, an American Negro. By proxy, I've seen my fair share of work from Tyler Perry. If nothing else, I'm certainly aware of who he is. I grew up on his work. My uncle used to buy videos, DVDs of his plays, and certainly when those plays got adapted into movies, I was very well aware of it. I was a Medea fan. If you don't know Medea was a character that Tyler Perry himself would play of an older black woman who was saucy and sassy and had a lot to say, a lot of wisdom, a lot of aggression. She was a personality. Now, over the years though, as I got older, I started to notice some patterns with Tyler Perry, and that is he's not very good at making a different story. All of his stories, in some way or another, tend to focus on the same tropes and the same ideas over and over and over again. Allow me, if you will, to basically run down every Tyler Perry movie ever made. Almost every movie is about a black woman who is angry. She's angry due to some wrongdoings by a dark-skinned black man. Note that I was very specific. A dark-skinned black man has wronged this black woman and she's angry. For the next 2 hours, we're gonna watch her either get revenge and or is saved in some way or another, either romantically or just in life, by a light-skinned black man. Tyler Perry himself must appear in some way or another throughout the film. And then you just switch up the location perhaps, or the specifics, but the core story ultimately stays the same. And if you're wondering, like, why does it not change at all, it's largely due to the fact that most of the writing, if not all of the writing of a Tyler Perry film, is done by none other than Tyler Perry. And regardless of the movie being a comedy or a drama or somewhere in between, this is the movie. So with that said, when people were like, hey Kendall, you should check out his latest film on Netflix that came out maybe a week or two ago, called A Fall from Grace on Netflix, I said, do I need to watch it? I've seen this film. I am curious how he was able to make this film seems so much worse comparatively than all the other films. And I realized very soon thereafter that it's not necessarily the story. Yeah, the story's been done before, particularly by Tyler Perry. But one thing I will say about this movie that is different qualitatively than any film I've seen from Tyler Perry in recent years is that she's cheap, honey. She real cheap. Keeping your hubcaps on with gum, cheap. Ramen noodles and ketchup packets for dinner, cheap. I don't have enough money for a lineup, so just do the first half and I'll finish it. Cheap, honey. Tyler Perry is too rich of a man. The dude has money, okay? He's not a broke person. He has a whole studio now. I hope this is not indicative of the quality coming out of that studio. He's a proud person. I say this like I know him, but like basically applauding himself and his crew for making this movie in 5 days. That's not a good thing in my opinion. I mean, maybe if the movie was better. For me, it just screams procrastination and overworked actors and staff. Like 5 days, create a 2-hour film. Ridiculous. But anyway, let's get down to specifics. The movie begins with an elderly woman crying on the top of a roof. I should not have laughed. This is not funny. But this movie is not very good at making me feel bad for people in tumultuous situations. So I'm not going to say I'm a sociopath. I'm going to say they're just bad at their jobs. Okay, there you go. But yes, there's an elderly woman on the top of her roof crying and threatening to jump. She is being talked down by a cop who in this film will be our light-skinned black man. Anyway, she's crying hysterically and talking about how she's lost everything and threatening to jump. Immediately, I noticed a kind of, what is the word I'm looking for? Flatness in the film. A flatness in a way that I usually don't see in like higher budget films with like, you know, time to make the film. And that's a big component of this movie that makes it look so cheap, is actually the flatness of scenes. There's not a whole lot of like varied cuts to make it look like it was carefully made. It just looks kind of like a play. It looks like a movie that was never meant to be a movie. It was supposed to be a play or a skit, like an SNL. That's not funny. But when she jumps, you saying this don't look like it would be on Mad TV. I'm sorry. Like, somebody put a laugh track on it. I'm so sorry. Sorry. I'm sorry. I had an image in my head where after she jumps, he turns to the, oh my God, no, Kendall, no, don't do it. It's too late. I had an image that he like turned around to the camera and was like, you think you had a hard day at work? I'm sorry. But soon thereafter, we are introduced to our, I guess she would be considered our main character, who is Jasmine, a 26-year-old lawyer who is going to be the lawyer of a high-profile case for Grace Waters. Fall from Grace. Grace Waters is accused of killing her husband. Instead of going to trial, she plans to plead guilty, and Jasmine's job is just to basically get the plea deal signed. Now, Jasmine is kind of painted to be a truly awful lawyer. She never takes anything to trial. She's not daring or bold enough to do that. She just kind of does plea deals, and yeah, she can't really get anybody off from trial. So she's given this case because it's like, how do you mess it up? You go there and tell her to sign a plea deal and go about your way. Before I continue, by the way, wigs. Twitter has had quite the field day with the wigs in this movie, and I understand that. One of the ultra shake and go wigs, but like one of the ones before we figured it out. And it's like pretty much everyone in this movie, which leads me to wonder, you know, considering Tyler Perry has directed, wrote, produced this film, I wouldn't be surprised if he's also in hair and makeup, because like, why not? Perhaps Party City was a sponsor? Anyway, Grace, the woman accused of killing her husband, is there, and she has her first meeting, and she looks rough, which makes sense. It's fine. She's going through a time. But also, largely through this movie, she's like mildly catatonic. And that's just kind of a thing through the entire movie. I hope isn't because of the 5-day work schedule. I hope she was able to sleep at some point, because that's, again, ridiculous. But anyway, after the first interaction with Grace, Jasmine is talking with her other lawyer friends, and one of them is super annoying. And he's like, you should look more into it and see if you can take this to trial. Stop being such a little puss and actually fight for something, or something like that. You think she killed this man? She just bakes cookies for children in the area. Por kilo nos dos. Fun fact, you can do both of these things in your lifetime: kill your husband and make cookies. Not only does it come up in this situation, it actually comes up several times as like a defense of her character. Women that bake don't kill their husbands. The endorphins. She can eat cookies. Later that night, Jasmine and her husband are like sharing thoughts, and he's like, I'm kind of bothered by the woman that killed herself in the very beginning of the movie. And he's like, all right, I've shared something that's bothering me. What's bothering you? Which, there's not a lot that this movie did well, but I did appreciate that little token. Show us healthy ways to communicate with your significant other. I like that. And anyway, Jasmine is like, I don't think I can be a lawyer. I never realized that this would be what it's like to be a lawyer. So you're telling, she was like, I didn't know I'd have to defend the scum of the earth, and I thought I was doing something good for people. I'm sorry, did you go through the entirety of law school without knowing what your job would be? You tried mock cases, presumably knew what a lawyer was before you tried to become one. Had enough smarts to pass the bar, but not enough to know what your job would be. Now, the DA is saying that the most lenient he'll go if she pleads guilty is life without possibility of parole. Jasmine goes and tells Grace that's the plan. She's gonna get life without parole, and Grace kind of breaks down after that. And for some reason, Jasmine sees this, and then she's like, I don't think she did it. Because, quote, guilty people don't cry like that. Dudes that cheat be crying all the time. I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. I'm gonna try to defend her. Try to convince her to take it to trial so that I can defend her. I feel like she's innocent. In order to gather intel to further strengthen the case to defend Grace Waters, Jasmine ends up going to her friend's house to get more information about what led up to the accused murder. Sarah is the owner of a house that she actually rents out to a few tenants who are older women, elderly women that need assistance and can't really live alone. It's not really important right now, but we'll come back to that. But just know that she owns a house that she rents out to other women. Sarah is, again, a friend of Grace, and Sarah feels guilty because she feels like the reason Grace has ended up where she is partially her fault. Sarah was concerned about Grace after her divorce and basically said she needs to get out there, she needs to socialize, she needs to get her a man. And so she encourages Grace to go to this art exhibit that was debuting soon, and Grace goes. There she meets the photographer that made the exhibit, a man named Shannon, who will eventually be her new husband. Shannon is the first man I've ever seen with a high top but no fade. Isn't that weird? Like, it's so thick. It's so thick around the sides. It's so off-putting, honestly. And it also doesn't look real. It looks like it's like they glued it on or something, which also leads me to question, why did he need to have this haircut? But over the next bit, Shannon and Grace start to like each other. You know, there's a whole montage of them becoming a relationship. They start dating. Like, there's a scene where they're at their first date and they're at like a diner. Grace asks, like, why me? Like, why do you like me? I'm an older woman. You're a nice looking younger male. Why did you pick me of all people? I'm sure that you've had your fair share of women. What's up with me? And his response, I don't know if it triggered me or something, but his response was something along the lines of like, why not you? I call bullshit. This is not an answer, okay? Like when a dude is like, what's not to like? I'm like, plenty. I'm awful. But more importantly, you don't know that. You don't know enough about this person. So whenever I'm like, what? Wait, again, not my particular, we're not talking about me. When people are like, oh, I just like you, but I'm like, why? So that to me is a red flag. It's like, what did he like? Like, y'all don't know each other. Like, what is there to like? Again, I'm just projecting, my bad. Also, there's a scene where he's like, I don't know why men lie so much. You know, I can't help but tell the truth. I'm like, that's what a lying nigga says. And I was like, ooh, I know he a liar. Long story short, they get married, they get together. And this whole rundown she ends up giving to Jasmine, her lawyer, so that she gets more of an understanding of their relationship before it all went down. Side note, all Twitter interactions with this film are peak. I highly recommend after this video, you go search A Fall from Grace on Twitter. Grace is talking about how her marriage to MC Hammer just started to fall apart. He starts to become more secretive. He's talking to people in the middle of the night. She thinks he's cheating on her. And all of a sudden, she goes to work one day. She's called in and they're like, you're fired. You've been stealing money from the bank. She works at a bank. They were like, you're stealing money from your job, over $300,000. What are you doing with that? Doesn't matter. You're fired. Get out, right? She's like, oh my God, I would never steal from my job. What happened, you know? And when she tries to figure out like what's going on, she ends up going to the bank to see like what happened. She's like, oh, by the way, you're also late on a mortgage payment. Have you ever noticed that that's also a theme in Tyler Perry movies? There's always something about a mortgage. Are you talking about my house is paid for? What did I need a mortgage for? And like I said before, her responses are so toothless. Like they're so like, where's the conviction? Where's the frustration? Where's the confusion? Like she's so like lifeless. Someone put a mortgage out on a house that is paid for You should be more panicked about that. And she's just like, I didn't sign this. I didn't sign this. I didn't sign this. I'd be like, you can take this payment and shove it up your urethra. But then again, I'm a Capricorn Aries, so I don't have to take responsibility for any of the explosive, condescending outbursts that I have. Anyway, after her being completely anemic, pop a vitamin, ma'am, she thought someone random, like a random person, stole her identity. But then she goes to the bank and they have surveillance of someone, you guessed too, her husband, going to the bank and getting a mortgage on her home. Look, very few things will bring out the worst in me. You want to get there quick? Mess with my money. She finds out it was his fault. He did a mortgage. He needed the money for something that he had debt for. Also, this scene is another situation where I felt the urge to laugh more than feel anything. Like, I don't. But anyway, Grace is like, yo, you gotta give me my money. I'm gonna go to jail. They think I stole from my job. I'm gonna go to jail because of something you did. And he feels absolutely no remorse. Again, I know I'm supposed to feel bad for Grace. And I feel like if this were a situation in real life, I honestly would. I feel like most people would, you know. Unintentionally comedic nature of the scenes where he's just like, screw you, I'm not worried about how you feel, crack me up so bad. I actually have some quotes from which I would like to keep forever in my personal mental Rolodex. I don't have my glasses, but ashtray, bitch. After all the sex and joy I brought to your miserable ass life, bitch, you owe me. Ooh, there's also a scene where she catches him having sex with another woman, and it's so weird. He's having sex with her and he's naked, and he like throws Grace out of the room and he caked up. But also he turns around and like covers his genitalia with his hands in front of a woman that he was just inside of. Like, it's so weird. If this were like a real movie, they would like pan in to like, or like do a close-up of his face to avoid genitalia, but they kept the same shot. They just had him cover, I can't show it probably, but they just had him cover his genitals. After the slew of verbal abuse from her husband, she finally snaps and beats his ass with a baseball bat. She believes he's dead. She drags him into the basement and throws him down the stairs, after which she calls Sarah and says, I killed him. That's what I did. But when Sarah gets to the apartment, no one's there. There's no body. Because there's no body, Jasmine, in all her infinite wisdom, said, hey, I think we could take this to trial. There's reasonable doubt that there was no murder. And for some reason, she thinks because there's no body, that's enough to have a mistrial. Now, I am no lawyer. I'm just a girl with common sense. So there is no way, with that much blood splattered all over the place and with that much motive, is something that happens from a benign reason. The husband, after having had this much blood leave his body, is now missing. She is the only person that's being charged, therefore there are no other suspects. How do I put that? There's no way she would be considered innocent. You know, maybe she'll get a lesser charge. Pretty unlikely that with that much blood at a crime scene and a confession that she would be let off. But again, I'm no lawyer. I'm just a chick with common sense. But anyway, they go to trial. And again, Jasmine thinks the fact that she bakes cookies for the children is enough of a reason to believe that she's an innocent woman, even though she told her a whole story about how she killed him. Also, bitch, the wig. Medea was laid and slayed for years. Okay, there is no excuse. There is no excuse. She's on trial. They couldn't give her a brush. Anyway, they start bringing people up on trial. They have their expert witness, one of which is a blood splatter expert.
So it's a possibility that the blood could have been left there over time?
I suppose, but that's not...
Like over several different times to add up to that same amount?
That's highly unlikely.
Well, I didn't ask if it was likely. I asked, was it reasonably possible that that could happen?
No.
Yes.
No, it's not.
Anything's possible.
No further questions.
What? And this scene just made me mad. Because again, I'm no lawyer. I'm just a chick with common sense. Like, you aren't helping. She really is a bad... If this is real, you're telling me that you think it's better that this blood is all a bunch of different situations. This isn't the crime she did, but there might be other ones. So get your crimes right. She beat his ass several times. Like it doesn't, you're not helping. If there's even a little bit of blood several times leading down into the staircase, what the hell is happening at that house? There's still a crime happening here. You're a horrible lawyer. Oh my God. Anyway, Grace's friend Sarah goes up to the stand, and after not that hard of questioning, they basically ask her, did you talk to her the same day that the murder happened? There's a little back and forth, but at the end of it, she was like, yeah, I talked to her. And they were like, what did you talk about? She said she murdered him. And the defense rests. Stupid. So after that day of trial, Jasmine, oh God, I haven't really touched on this. I hate Jasmine as a character. She is so freaking annoying and entitled and childish because she has a tantrum, like a full-on tantrum like a child.
Please, come on.
I don't want it. Who are you, my father? I don't want it.
What? Speaking of annoying and entitled, the next day, after the defense has rested, so the trial is essentially over, they just have to do like closing arguments. She's like, I want to call Sarah to the stand, which again, I'm no lawyer. I'm just a girl with common sense. You can't do that after you've rested defense. So that's what they tell her. They're like, you can't do that. Like you should have did it yesterday. They have this like scene where it's supposed to be super dramatic and like a culmination of things where she stands up for herself. No, she's just annoying. And she's like, go to the stand. Sarah, take the stand. Eventually, they end up putting her in contempt of court because that's what happened. And ta-da! Grace is found guilty. And on Grace's way out, though, something clicks. She notices that Sarah is actually wearing the same necklace that Shannon was wearing the day that they met. So upon that, Grace is like, let me talk to my lawyer. Sarah had something to do with it. Which I guess I kind of get. I feel like that's quite the leap to make just because of a necklace, but okay, sure, whatever. After Jasmine gets out of her cell because of contempt of court, like she has to apologize to the court and everything, she decides to go over and talk to Sarah because Grace has just been found guilty. She would imagine she would need some consoling or something like that. She goes over to Sarah's house. But when Jasmine gets there, Sarah isn't there, but her tenant, one of her tenants that were at her house, a presumably mentally ill older woman, is outside. So Jasmine, tries to help the elderly woman back inside. And the woman is like, I don't want to go back in there. I feel like I'm going to die here. Other women have died here. Even that woman that in the beginning of the movie jumped off the roof. Not only did she die here, there's actually other old women in the basement. And it's hella women in the basement. Girl, that does not... Girl, no one has noticed, A, that these women are missing, or B, that they all in some way had a connection to Sarah. Apparently, Sarah and Shannon are mother and son. That just brings me a lot more questions, man. For some reason, they all go missing when they meet these two. Did no one else notice that? So apparently, get this is the idea. Shannon and Sarah are mother and son, and they've been doing this for 20 years where they meet a bunch of old women and try and kidnap them, keep them in the basement so that they can collect their social security checks. No. This don't make sense. Why has nobody noticed a correlation between Sarah and Shannon and missing women? Why do they all go missing when they meet one of them? Why was that one woman particularly free to walk around the house instead of being locked up in the basement with all the rest of them? Also, if she was walking around the house the whole movie, why did she never get out earlier than this? Did no one else ask a question about why that woman in the beginning of the movie wanted to kill herself? And also, what house did she kill herself at? Sarah's. And no one else thought to question Sarah about why this woman died. I don't think it makes sense. I'm so confused. Y'all just wrote this script in 30 minutes. Anyway, Shannon's still alive, by the way. And they end up taking Jasmine and putting her in the basement. So the light-skinned black man of the movie, he is like arresting a perp, and mid putting him in handcuffs, he just now gets information from the station or something that Sarah is wanted in a bunch of states, and he just dropped his wife off at her house. So now he's like, oh no, and he does not do anything with that dude. That dude is just there handcuffed, and he's like, okay. Anyway, light-skinned black man ends up at the house. There's like some back and forth. He ends up kicking in the door. Superman, like, he gets hit in the back of the head with a cast iron pan, just mildly scathed. There is a tussle with Sarah, ending in her being the second person that has been put in handcuffs but left alone. He goes in the basement, ends up having a tussle with Shannon, and Jasmine's there watching it the whole time, like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. But suddenly she realizes that she can stand. She's been there for like a hot 20 minutes minimum. And just now she's like, oh yeah, I should probably help. Suddenly I want to live. She shoots Shannon. She cries and whimpers. Due to new evidence, Grace is seen as innocent. In a super sloppy roundup, Sarah's free to roam, and she starts doing it all over again, just somewhere else. With that said, I don't really know how she would do it now that her son is dead, presumably. I will say, at the end of this movie, one thing that was really on my mind, outside of how it was bad in a way that I didn't even really know how to comprehend at the end of it, I was like, huh? The story itself is not the issue. Again, it's a contrived story that's been done over and over and over again, but, you know, the trope isn't without its entertaining merits, you know? The issue lies largely and purely, let's just say that, in execution. Which leads me to my closing arguments. Tyler Perry. Can I call you Tyler? I understand you. I feel like you and I are a lot alike, Tyler. You and I are control freaks. Again, my Capricorn Aries is just singing about this. You want everything done in a very particular way, I went cross-eyed. You want things done in a very particular way, in a very particular manner. You love the self-suck off of having yourself in the movie every time. But there comes a point, you gotta realize that you need to let someone else do this. Put this out here. I don't hate Tyler Perry. I feel like I really appreciate the spaces he's made for Black actors and actresses. I applaud him for making a career for himself. I applaud his work ethic, his drive, and his fervor for his art. However, at some point, you need to sit down, sir. Let someone else write a movie of yours. Please, like, produce it, direct it. You know, you have a vision and whatnot. That's great. Pick one thing. Because at this point, again, you're making the same movie over and over and over again, when you could simply hire new talent, rise up new talent in the writing and producing or directing, whatever. This movie is bad, and it didn't have to be. Like, it's sloppy. This movie could have been pretty good. Granted, probably not groundbreaking, because again, it is a story that's been done over and over, particularly by Tyler Perry. We still could have had a better time watching it. That's all for today, folks. If you like this video, be sure to like this video. Am I still wet? Follow me on all my social media, Instagram and Twitter, both of which are KennieJD, and I will see you guys next time.